Okay, the recording is started now. So the idea what we were discussing was the common mistakes that people do in agile failure modes also we can call it. In fact, here we will also see it today actually in governance of agile, right? Governing agile
Yeah,
projects.
yeah.
There's one thing called agile failure modes. The biggest mistake from my experience I have seen, I have not been part of many agile teams, very rarely I have been part of agile teams, but one mistake that people do is agile is not a slow step by step transition from traditional project management. So these big shots like Sutherland and Co, the father of Scrum, or all these guys when they met in some 2001 or whenever to draft this agile manifesto, they had a very big problem in their mind. One is okay, the traditional methods, the waterfall and everything, right? That where you plan requirements and then go see even the V model. You plan requirements and then go in a RDCT, right? The design, coding, testing. That somehow it was good for a good extent in some other non-knowledge areas, but knowledge workers, when they call it, like our IT and all this, the knowledge workers, there was an issue where either because of the way the markets have changed, the VUCA world, right? A volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
sorry, yeah. So
Mm-hmm.
ambiguous. So not only in this environment, even in any standard development environment, uh,
Mm-hmm.
the managing the projects was a bit of a trick because the requirements kept on changing, and people also found that freezing the requirements upfront was a tricky thing. They could not freeze things upfront, but then
Exactly.
they foresaw something that we can have work in an agile. Agile basically means not changing things very often or working without a plan.
Mm-hmm.
That's another misconception
Mm-hmm.
people have. Agile
Exactly. Exactly.
agile
Yeah.
projects do have a plan.
Mm-hmm.
They should have a plan, high level, but
Mm-hmm.
at the same time when agile projects have a plan, it's not that you should keep changing the plan repeatedly. So that is one
Mm-hmm.
misconception. But the biggest misconception is people somehow start with a traditional mindset. Imagine I have a 6 month plan actually for releasing my product. In traditional management, I will start with requirements first 2 months, then go into design testing, and over the last 1 month we will do the launch and everything.
Yeah.
What they do is when they switch to agile, they simply cut this 6 months into two releases, 3 months long each, and within each of the
Mm-hmm.
3 month release time duration, they have sprints. Say 3 months means 12 weeks, 2 weeks sprint, so 6 sprints. So they just
Mm-hmm.
split their work instead of doing it from 0 to say 6 months. They split it into 0 to 2 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks, 5 to 6 weeks, and because of that they're still within the agile mindset and they can't basically ever
Mm-hmm.
switch into agile. And this is not something the fathers of agile or something, right? Fathers or mothers of agile, this is not something they foresaw. And because of
Mm-hmm.
that, whenever people are implementing agile projects, when you tell them 2 week sprint, everything should be self-contained, RDCT, right? At the end of every sprint you need to release a product, a minimum viable product, a minimum marketable feature, a shippable product. It becomes difficult for them to envision because in their head they think of the product as something that comes after 6 months. Today what they see is this iterative building or incremental building of the product. They see as one piece of the product which sits in the bigger picture, but the bigger picture
Mm-hmm.
per se is not visible today. So they
Yeah.
think I am working in agile, they assume,
Mm-hmm.
and after two
Mm-hmm.
weeks I will have some product, but sorry, you cannot use it. The real usable thing comes after 6 months. Wait. Unfortunately, this is the mindset when you assume you are moving from traditional to agile, but that's not what
Mm-hmm.
the people who built up the agile frameworks and everything, this is not what they foresaw. What they really were foreseeing was you flip your mindset completely. So it's not without reason they say in traditional projects your scope is fixed. Then you ask the question, how long do you need to do this work? How much money do you need?
Yeah.
In agile you flip the thing. Whatever you want to do, you have 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the iteration time box, you do everything within that. The idea is
Yeah.
not that whatever you want to do in 3 weeks do it. Doesn't mean you take a bite of the big piece, the big product, and then do it in pieces. Sorry, that is not the mindset. The thing is, even the way your product is built, you envision it differently. For example, I'll tell you. I will give an example of, say, for example, this thing. So you are able to see my video, right?
Yes. Yes.
So, for
Yeah.
example, imagine this pen is the
Yeah.
project. In traditional project management, you will say the first 2 weeks I will build this cap. The next,
Mm-hmm.
say, 2 months or something, I'll build this refill, and the next, this body or whatever of the pen.
Mm-hmm.
And then the last
Mm-hmm.
few weeks, we will integrate everything. We will test it. We will see. We will fill the ink. Right. Agile does not mean you still say, Bhuvan, instead of developing it from the first month or first week. Hey Rajesh, first week till the last 6 months, I will still work in the same mindset. Instead of developing in 6 months, in my first sprint I will create this, in my second sprint I will create this, in the third sprint I will create this, in the fourth sprint I will integrate, fifth sprint I will fill link, sixth sprint I will test. No, sorry, breaking up a traditional project that lasts for 6 months into sprints, that's not actually agile. How you and this is basically the problem to understand agile concepts. If you are clear about how agile is envisioned, then it becomes easy to understand the agile mindset, the umbrella of agile, right? Scrum, lean, kanban, and all these things, and also the various flavors. How you, one example how you will envision in agile is, in the first week you will not create a cap. In the first sprint, it could be 2-3 weeks or something, the time box, you will probably create a watered down version. Maybe you will create a leaner version. You may create something like this. You will create a complete pen. You will create, for example, the cap, the refill, the body of the pen, everything, test, fill the ink, test everything. But this is not the final product. But at the end of the sprint, even though this is not your final product, you will still be able to market it and sell it. The customer will be able to use it. He may not get a gel ink pen, but he will be able to get this, which he can use to some extent. Then you will slowly say this, you will make it as a maybe a gel pen, then you will make it as a whatever it is. So that is also at the end of every sprint, you will have what we call as an increment of the product. Increment of the product means every increment of the product should be usable, should be of value. That's why the word value comes in. Only this refill may not have a value, only this cap may not have a value, but this, though this pen is not the final product you want, it has a value because it can be used by the customer. So that's why in Scrum you don't think of output. In normal traditional project management, you say I have to do something, I have a plan, I have a work breakdown structure, I'm doing work, and whatever work I do, right, carries some value or meaning or something. But in Agile, you don't care about the output, you care about the outcome. For you in traditional, you create this, right, only the cap, it's an output. You are happy because according to your plan you have finished within the time frame, say first 3 weeks or 4 weeks or 2.5 weeks, you finish this, your output, so you're all good. But in Agile, this is an output. An outcome is not this, this or this. Your outcome is basically this entire pen. So Agile thinks of outcome versus output, value. Are you delivering value early and often enough? That is the principle in Agile. Meaning, whenever you are bundling up to do things in something called a product backlog, you are not listing things. Product backlog and work breakdown structure are not the same. Your work breakdown structure, at any logical point, if you break it, you will still not be able to use whatever is there developed till the time of the till the time period. But in a product backlog, right? If you slice a product backlog, they call it a slicing, for example, of a product into multiple vertical or horizontal. When you slice a product backlog, at any logical point, you would still be able to walk away with something that's usable and of value to the customer. How do you actually achieve this? By prioritizing this product backlog based on two things, based on value and based on risk. Meaning, you have lots of to-do list, lots of things to do, right, in this product backlog. What you do is at the beginning itself, you are putting the highest value and also the highest risk things on top. So you are stacking up, you are constantly, you are relooking the product owner who is owning the product backlog along with the customer, that's the business phase, and the development team and the scrum master. They are always looking at it. At any given time, if I say stop, I am stopping the project, will you be able to walk out with something meaningful at that time? Because then the work will not be waste. Can you do anything if the product is stopped, the project is stopped after 1 month, you manufacture only the cap? You can't. But imagine after 1 month you created the pen, even though you're not going to create a gel pen, it's still okay, you can walk out. That should be the mindset. And that is why in a product backlog, usually what people do is, not only before taking a slice out of the product backlog to do it within one sprint, which is called a sprint backlog, not only for that reason regularly, even parallel, a product backlog can be refined or groomed. They call it as grooming the backlog or refining the backlog. You can do it without a time, so you can do it anytime. A sprint is running, you can parallelly and independently do it. between sprints, any time, because you're constantly looking at the value, and the question you are going to ask yourself is, am I really delivering value at this moment to my customer? Is the customer who is paying me, is he getting the worth out of it regularly? If you find, because you already finished 2 sprints, 2 3 weeks sprints, 6 weeks are gone, and you're not going to say, yeah, my product backlog to do list tick tick tick. You're not ticking the product backlog alone. You're also seeing in 6 weeks you have delivered say 10 items in your product backlog. You're constantly seeing the 11th item up to 20th or 25th or 30th item, are they really adding value? Or since I've delivered the first 6 weeks, has that changed the priority of the items 11 to 25 in the product backlog also? Example, you delivered this in the first 10 items in the product backlog have created this pen. Now, the 11th to 25th item is converting this pen, maybe you replacing the refill with a gel refill or something. That may sound logical on day one when the first item in the product backlog is being created. But now after 2 sprint cycles where you have created this pen, you are now looking, should I really do items 11 to 25 in the product backlog, which is refilling, changing the refill from this to this, replacing step by step? Yeah, it may create a value, but is that really the value the customer wants? Because the customer may say, Bhuvan, I have seen actually this, I love this, what you have created. So now I've changed my mind, even I have marketed it, I'm getting feedback from the market has changed. There is a heavy demand for low cost pens itself. I don't want to spend any more money investing in this, for example, because this pen will serve the purpose of this pen itself. Maybe not with all the features, it's okay, I'm willing to forego these benefits. Can you maybe slightly enhance only this and not create this? Why not? Now the team is talking to business. You remember the 4 values in the Agile manifesto and the 12 principles. One of the 12 principles is the business works very closely with the development team and vice versa. This is what it is. You don't say, I am the technical expert, I am the development team, I do what I want because I have a plan to follow. No, the business says. At the same time, it's not a one-way traffic. Business directing the development team can say, hey, I understand you don't want this, you can work with this with enhancements. But the technology of today allows us to do some things differently, that you don't get this, you will also not get this, you will get a better version of this, maybe better of both worlds. Or the technology of today does not allow us to create an enhancement of this, it's a risk. So the team also feeds back to the product owner and to the business and says, can we add some new things in the product backlog, can we reprioritize, bring some things up? So this way you are constantly looking at the business on one side, technology on the other, the product owner and the development team constantly interact, they keep grooming or refining the product backlog, and this is agile mindset. This is how it works. Not that work breakdown structure, today it is in an MPP file, you take the items, copy paste into an Excel file and then you call it as a product backlog. The first 10 items in the WBS, I will do it in the first sprint, the next 10 items in the second. But unfortunately many teams still work. It may look, now that I have explained this to you, you will see how on earth can people misunderstand this. But that is exactly what people do in many cases. And that is where the idea of, I am associating myself with traditional management, I want to move into agile. No, you don't move into agile, just the processes. You also think the agile mindset is completely different, and you are not looking at yourself, you are rather looking at the business value. So this is basically what I started talking about, Srihari, before you all join. This is the difference, and as long as you don't understand this, you will try to map every practice of agile or scrum. Whenever I say sprint backlog, you will say sprint backlog is an extract of product backlog. So you will look at sprint backlog as a static picture of one portion of the product backlog. A product backlog has 40 items, you will automatically assume sprint backlog for sprint 1 is first 10 items, next sprint is 10 to 11 to 20, third sprint 21 to 30. Sorry, that is still the traditional mindset. Sprint backlog is value based and risk based reprioritized product backlog for the first sprint. Second sprint you are not going to take 11 to 20. Now some new things may have come up, some new priorities may have come up, reprioritize and then pick those items, not statically but dynamically, before the second sprint. And then there's a second thing also. You're not looking at the business alone. You're looking at your team's capability also. Imagine when you started the team with 6 to 9 people now in the Scrum team. You had, for example, some knowledge, some awareness, some experience, and everything. You said, I can take my user stories, user story points, I can handle, say, this many 40 story points I can do. But after you finished in the second sprint, your experience has increased. Because of doing the first sprint, your team's experience has increased. Because it has increased, now you are looking at, we can be a bit more productive, but looking at productivity is not, I did 40 story points in first sprint, now I will do 50 story points. Sorry. Story points have not directly related to your capability alone. It's value. Now you are picking, you know what? The only meaning you can look at the 40 story points from the first sprint. Now the productivity is, in my first sprint, as a team, we thought with our experience, composition of the team, knowledge and everything, we can do some things which in business terms are worth 40 story points. Let that be a benchmark. Now, for the second sprint, when you are planning, after reprioritizing the backlog again, we are picking from the top few, not exactly 11 to 20 or 1 to 10 in the new product backlog, prioritized backlog, but maybe from the top 10 you are picking up some things. But this time, we can start with an assumption, and in a retrospective of the first sprint, we found, yes, I planned for 40 story points, I have achieved everything, or I achieved 30 story points, maybe that is. So you see 30 or 40 story points is my capability. Let me start with that. But the 30 or 40 story points don't come because of the number of hours you need, but rather again business value. So you delivered 30 story points worth of value. You think you can deliver 30 story points worth of value, but that 30 story points worth of value may be done in the 3-week sprint, the time available, or maybe not. This is the new mindset. It's not blindly you did 40 or 30 in the first sprint you can do. So this kind of interplay, the value of the business that changes dynamically, and your team's capacity. So you have to take all this account before extracting anything from the product backlog to make a sprint backlog. This is another mindset change from traditional. So these are some failure modes in Agile that you do. So these are some things we have to be very cognizant of. This is basically what we are discussing. Any thoughts or any questions?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bhuvan, one question. I think I want to remove this kind of a mental block that uh, agile can be used in only in a product which can be really deployable, like a website page, or if I consider my product as a ECU, in that I find it difficult to visualize that if I'm implementing 1,000 requirements into it, and unless at least out of 1,000, 200 to 300 are integrated together, till then I cannot give a product. Like for example, my ignition, exhaust, and air path should be ready to have a engine first consider for understanding. In those cases, how do I say that when I have done, at least I will require 10 to 20 sprints to be done at least to have something which is crankable? How do I remove my that block, the mental block that no, how agile would work in these kind of scenarios? Because
And
this is a bigger thing.
yeah, somebody wants to answer this. I think Srihari or somebody actually, or was there?
Not, I don't know whether it has an answer, but I wanted to ask, why do you want to do sprint? Because sprint is, at least for me, sprint is something where you do not know how the end product should really be because of the volatility. But when you already know what is my aim, what is, let's say, crankable with the version 1, why do you want to do the sprint
Beautiful.
in that case?
That I was about to ask the same thing. The question is, this is where the agile mindset comes. In traditional mindset, this question makes sense. In agile mindset, after you started doing it, are you going to still retain the same thought process? I started with some idea that something has to be delivered at that time. Or are you still going to retain that mindset?
No, that's why I said it's a mental block that maybe traditional, we have worked a lot in traditional mindset. And that is what I'm trying to, understand or diverge the mindset that, yeah, this is another improved way of doing things. and that's what I'm trying to understand, because it's a mental block. I've been working to conventional mindset, conventional project management for almost more than a decade now.
Yep. Our
So
entire
that's what I'm
careers.
trying to.
Yes.
So I'm just trying to place a correlation, because I've been into ECU business for almost 13 years now. So that's where I'm seeking some help, kind of, that how I can switch my mindset from a traditional to a agile in these, considering this other scenario for me.
The answer is you don't have to switch. That's exactly what I was talking of. You're trying to switch or move over from traditional to agile. It's not a small thing. I will give an example. It's like a, what's the word for it? Disruptive innovation, similar to that. Imagine if people wanted to have, there is a saying, no? When I don't know if it comes from Ford or anybody. Uh, if in 1800s or before the motor car was invented, if you asked people, if you want to make an improvement over the current mode of transport, which is horses, right? What improvement do you can foresee? You know what people would have said? Faster horses. But we did not get a disruptive innovation of making the horses faster. Rather, we got motor cars, which is not related to horses at all. If people had been thinking, or candle is there, you think you want to make an improvement over candle, light bulb would not have come, right? So thinking of
Yeah.
an improvement in the mindset sometimes needs that you don't think whatever you are doing today or whatever you want to do tomorrow, the so-called improvement, the better state, as an improvement or continuation or betterment of what you are doing today. Sometimes it could be out of the box, something that could be disruptive also. And agile is something like that. This is exactly what I am talking of. You don't see in traditional ECU, engine management, and all these things, right? The idea is these products are like 10 years, 15 years, right? The product life cycles, 10, 15 years or something.
Yeah.
Even before you try to work in agile way, think which part of the projects, which part of the development could be made agile. It is true that every single thing in a project cannot be made agile. Certain things cannot be made agile. They don't lend themselves to agile unless and until the whole mindset changes and people start, how to say, setting up the entire project and the product, envisioning everything accordingly. It's difficult to do that. You have, that's why in agile at the beginning you have something called a product vision, product vision, board, and all these things. So the biggest difference is it's not only in how you execute, not only in the processes, it is also in terms of how the product is also envisioned. You cannot say that like the example I'm giving. In traditional mindset, if you are saying I want to build the pen and I'm going to plan it in different ways, in agile you're not only not saying that first I will build the cap, then I will build the refill. You're even saying, can I even make this? Do I even need to make this in as my agile product? Can I envision my product in such a way that we can build it in an agile way? So it is not that you take a product that was envisioned in a traditional project management mindset and then you suddenly switch to agile and say, I have decided what I want to build, let me see how I can build that. Sorry, it does not work all the time. Sometimes even you have to question, is the product itself that I am envisioning, is it liable or does it lend itself to agile development? Sometimes the answer is no. Sometimes you say, sorry, I cannot get this product out in that way. And it holds some way of thinking differently about the product itself, not just the process. Does this answer your question partly, Rajesh?
Yeah, to some extent. So what I conclude is, like if I'm looking at a area or a product of a development, that can I use agile or not? So I have to look at the Stacy matrix first. That okay, yeah, whether it is going into that area.
Correct.
That Stacy matrix is allowing me to go in that area, or I have to still follow waterfall, because most of the things are known to me.
Partly right. Okay, I was talking of the product envisioning itself. Stacy matrix is another beautiful thing to look at. Stacy matrix also, we have, I hope all of you know what a Stacy matrix is. Let me see if I have a picture of it. Unfortunately, I don't have it ready made. But in a just give me a moment. Let me check actually whether there is a Stacy matrix somewhere. 1 second. 1 moment, please. Learning. I have it somewhere. wash materials, but yeah, I can. Okay. I just need a minute. Just I'm opening the Stacy matrix. Where can I have it? One second. I am just searching. Stacy. Just a moment, guys. I'm sorry. I can Google it also. Yeah, I didn't. Oh. Stacy matrix. Yes, I got it. Okay, here it is. Okay, sorry, my screen is not shared, right? I will share my screen. Just a moment. Please let me know if you're able to see the screen. Yeah. Yeah. Can you see the screen?
Yeah, visible.
Yes. See, this is Stacy matrix. So basically in Stacy matrix, one axis is the technology. Do we have the technology of today for whatever it is, and then requirements, how clear the requirements are. So what you are saying is, usually depending on where you are, you define whether you can implement agile or not. But one important thing you have to see is Stacy matrix you cannot blindly use just like that. For example, if the technology is a commonplace technology, it's not cutting edge, or it's just state of the art, whatever you have today, and the requirements are very clear, you can just follow traditional project management, agile and everything is not needed. But at the other end, when it's highly unknown technology, it's emergent technology, for example, and the requirements are highly unclear, you still cannot use agile. You have to, first step you have to do is to bring it down. You have to reduce either the technology black box, for example, or you have to get the requirements clear. At least one of them or both you have to do, so that you bring the project out of this chaotic thing into a lesser area, and that's where you apply agile in complicated or complex, for example. So imagine in your traditional project management, you always have, I know my product, it's built on a platform and the platform is known and everything, and the requirements are emerging all the time. See, just because the requirements are ever changing and dynamic doesn't mean you should use agile. That's another misconception people have. Requirements being unclear could be for any reason. It could be a requirement elicitation itself is not proper. You have failed to elicit the requirements. All it needs is a bit more clean scoping and requirements elicitation. That's it. It's poor project management. That is not a need for doing agile. Or sometimes the requirements are unclear because you have gobbled up too much that you want to do. It's not requirements but basically scope. You know the difference between requirements and scope. So you as a project manager has failed to define what you will do in the project, what you will not do. That is scope. That you may not have done properly. So it could be any of the reasons. Agile you have to use if, for example, the nature of the market, the nature of the project itself is that forming a clear set of requirements upfront is meaningless. You can't, or you don't want to, because you are afraid by the time you develop the first set of features, the rest of the features you planned may be obsolete. So there are items 11 to 20 in the product backlog. By the time you finish the first 10 items, the market has changed, your competition has changed, and now the next 11 to 20 items you don't have to develop at all. In traditional, you'll say, this is my plan, I will do it because I've invested a lot. In agile, you're not investing so much upfront because you never intended to do. In fact, the reason we are saying within a sprint we should develop an increment, a marketable feature or a viable product, is because you are sinking all the investment into that one sprint and you're bringing out a version of the product already. So even if the rest of the value that you planned, the items in the next bottom of the product backlog, they become obsolete, redundant, or not needed anymore, it's okay. You have done very minimal or no investment, very minimal investment, you have done that. But in traditional, you are invested heavily upfront in writing requirements, design, and everything upfront a lot, that you now feel sorry, I have invested so much in it. No going back. Agile basically avoids this. Does this give you an idea about, give an answer to your question, Rajesh?
Yeah, to some extent, yes. Yeah.
This is another way to understand the difference. But if you are only thinking traditional and then you are converting your traditional mindset into agile, then it's very difficult to understand. Because you are invested a lot in yourself, in your product at the beginning. Here, you are invested also in the later stages, but it's a rolling way planning takes over. You say, I will not only plan, I will also say, I will only get this increment in the first sprint or something. And even if everything changes, my current work, whatever it in the previous sprints, will not be a waste. You can modify, you can cancel sprints, you can kill sprints, you can cancel releases. So that is the power of agile, and this is how you have to think of agile. You have to envision your overall, your whole product itself. Not that I plan to do a product, I am switching from traditional to agile. Your product envisioning itself should change. And unless you have envisioned your product accordingly, you cannot create increments of the product. You cannot plan pieces of the product, incremental pieces, and then build those increments in sprints. You can't do that, actually. So it's a whole mindset change, not just a process change.
Thanks, Bhuvan.
Yeah. This was clear, right? Yeah. So I hope actually, because my main target was to help drive actually this change in the mindset.
Yeah, I just want to just chime in a few thoughts. I mean, I could so much resonate what just Rajesh just said, because I am also facing the same issue which just Rajesh just put it across. Where in my project it is not a product based, then it is on a service that we are just providing. So putting that into an agile mindset or moving that into an agile, it was very difficult. I mean, when we were just asked like to move from a traditional method to an agile method, it was a difficult process for us. We were just finding excuses for that matter, saying that it will be running good with the traditional method. But unfortunately or fortunately, if you see that at the later point in time, it was being seen that it worked on a traditional method rather than an agile method. So I always get confused there, like how do we know that it works on a traditional method or does it work with an agile mind? I mean, sorry, in an agile way. When we just get into a project or something like that. So I always have this stuff whenever I get into a new project. Though it is a current project which I'm just running, it's still in a traditional method because we run many ways to see that if it can just be in an agile. But then yeah, later on we just stop ourselves to be in a traditional method itself for this project as well. So I have the question like how do we see that it can be in traditional or in an agile thing?
Beautiful, very, very beautiful question. Here is where again, one other advantage of agile, right? The being close with business, one other interpretation of that principle, working very closely with business, right, is you are not just looking at your development. I have to provide a service, a product, or a result, right? Anything, an outcome, and let me see how I can do it in traditional or agile. Let me take a call. Should I do it in traditional? Should I do it in agile? Which parts I can do in traditional? Which part I can do in agile? Sorry, that kind of questioning itself shows a wrong mindset. One advantage of working in agile is it forces you to question your business itself. You said till yesterday I was working in traditional, I had lots of problems because the market was changing, it was very dynamic, my requirements are changing, my customer always wants so many changes so often. Yes, you're looking at where you are in the Stacy matrix, you say, I should actually be working in an agile way. Question is, how can I move from traditional to agile? Wrong question. Once you have identified that your project lends itself to agile practices, first thing you should do is not just to move to from traditional to agile. It is to look at the services you are providing and the value. And one benefit you get is you start questioning your value, and then you find some of the things you are doing hitherto, right, they are not value added at all. You start cutting things. If you say, Bhuvan, actually I cannot move to Agile because everything is fixed, then there are two problems. Either your service you are offering does not lend itself to Agile thing, which is less likely. More importantly, you are adamantly trying to stick to the way your business has been, you have been doing business, because of which actually you cannot follow Agile practices. So that is why one of the first things you do in Agile, for example, when you put everything in a product backlog, is you question why you are doing anything and everything. Does this add value? Does this add value? Map. This is also in Lean, we call it as value stream mapping. You do a process, a flow chart, for example. These are the different things. If this is a service I'm offering, software service, ticket based, IT, ITES, whatever service you are offering, it could be non-IT also. What are the steps in the service that I have to do so that from the beginning to end, if I do it, the service is offered? And each of these steps, you see, does it add value, does it not add value? In traditional, you don't do that generally. You planned you want to do these steps. In Agile, you look at it and then you will find so many things don't add value. You may not be able to eliminate the we call it as a waste, right? In Lean, Muda, waste. Most of the time you may not be able to eliminate that, but you can minimize that waste. Example, a common example which people take is you go to a go to a cake shop, you want to eat a cake. You are spending some time in front of the cake counter to look at the different cakes, Black Forest or whatever, vanilla, strawberry or whatever it is, and you want to select the cake. That's one step. Then you are waiting for the baker to come to you after finishing his business with other customers. Then you point out the cake and you ask the baker to pick up. Then the baker basically puts it in the oven for some time to heat it or something. And then he takes it and neatly puts it. He asks you parcel or you want to pack it or you want to eat it there. And then you come and take it to the table and eat it. In all this, you saw the different steps. Which of the steps add value to you? Selecting the cake adds value. Waiting for the baker to come to you does not add value. Heating the cake, yes. Packaging it, yes. Eating, yes. Eating part has the biggest value. So you look at which are the parts add value, how much time actually it takes, waiting time. So you try to eliminate the steps wherever you know value is added to you, or reduce the time, reduce the effort. This is value stream mapping. The question that you asked lends itself to a value stream mapping, Deepa.
Yeah.
So you
Yeah.
have to basically map what you have to draw a flow chart of all the steps you do in your process, identify value, identify non-value added or waste basically, and try to eliminate or minimize the waste. And then
Yeah.
whatever is left will be adding value, then it lends itself better to Agile. This is one way of moving from either simple or chaotic into the complex or complicated, wherever. Of course, you're not going to move from simple to complex, but this is one way to set up your project in such a way that, because yes, you don't have a product, you have a service, but then your service also should lend itself to Agile. So this is about envisioning your product or service itself. You see, this is the advantage of Agile. In traditional, you already have everything fixed, you have been given something, you do it. In Agile, you are questioning, should I really do this? Should I do everything? Should I spend so much effort in doing this part? I don't see any value in it. You're starting to question yourself a lot. So it's not just doing what is given, but questioning back to the business also.
Yeah. Yeah.
So every moment you're spending value, and your customer basically benefits, and that is all about Agile.
Yeah,
This is the mindset.
probably, yeah, as you just said, probably it would be that we didn't just roll up with the agile mindset.
This is Agile
Probably
mindset.
I wouldn't. Yeah,
It's all about mindset. So don't try to think in
yeah,
traditional mindset and shift to Agile. No.
yeah.
Maintenance, it doesn't work.
Probably it look expensive. Probably a joy killer for the people who are from a traditional mindset, because from a traditional, because it's been years that we are just working with a traditional mindset, right? So moving from that to an agile, probably it might take some time. Probably, yeah, that might be the one reason.
That is why you need strong product owners who can
Yeah, yeah,
envision, who can set up the
yeah.
product in such a way, or service in such a way. You
Exactly.
need very experienced people and everything, savvy, street smart people and everything. That's really important. It's a teamwork.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I get that point. Yeah, probably. Yeah, I think so. We about three things over here, probably on an agile thing. Like, first is to just identify the or the intentionality or the purpose of what we are just doing. Probably that should be the kind of mindset that we should have it. Like,
True.
what does it need?
True, true, true.
Yeah.
So that's the entire purpose of this discussion. My Srihari has left, but he started a beautiful question because we only the two of us were there, and we thought, okay, let's discuss something about the very source itself, rather than discussing bits and pieces, the processes and everything. Because process you can understand, that's just a formality. Unless you understand the mindset, you cannot interpret the processes. No, that's really
Yeah,
important. Yeah.
exactly. Yeah. Yeah, yeah, we need to. But then, yeah, I'm also this ACP as well. I'm just getting hang of it. I mean, I'm just uh, planning to take this exams and just reading through the books. So, but then I'm not that prepared. I mean, but hence I'm just getting into your sessions every time so that I just get to know more things before I read the
In
books.
fact,
Why
even
read the book?
when I do the ACP trainings, I very rarely talk about the processes or any of the
Yeah.
sessions. I tell them it's a mindset.
Mhm.
At the end of the day, if you understand what agile mindset is, why you're doing, what exactly you're doing, the how part becomes easy. Scrum, Kanban, Lean, what is the DSDM or Crystal or whatever, XP, it's all different flavors. And unless you really understand what exactly you're doing, you'll not be able to interpret anything. So that exactly
Mhm.
you have to attack the source, the purpose of what you're doing. Then everything suddenly it opens up, and you repeatedly hear sprint meeting, daily stand-up meeting, retrospective. You repeatedly keep hearing these things, but till the date actually you are aware, till the day you are aware of this agile mindset, right? It's
Mhm.
difficult to interpret why you are doing. It will be only a memorization, yeah, by rote. But the moment you get this agile mindset, a whole new world opens up. Now you say, now I understand this. I went through this so many times, but now I understand exactly what it is. So it's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
revelation. No, you get it. So that's basically
Yeah.
what I'm trying to do to help you understand what agile mindset could be.
Exactly. Yes, Bhuvan. So I also agree to the points that you just said. That's the reason because I just started with my book of reading McGriff, and I'm not so sure like how I'm not planned like when I need to take the exam because I have not planned in such a way that I need to do it in this year or do I need to wait because of certain reasons. But then I'm just planning to do is like I just tried reading that book itself, and
With this
your
mindset,
session
with this
I
new
can just
mindset,
yeah, yeah,
then
yeah,
it helps.
yes, yes,
Yeah,
yeah. Yes,
it really,
yes, yeah.
because
Yeah,
even,
because
yeah.
when I just say that to my project as of now, because we are the new projects which we are planning to do is all in the agile thing itself. Because I've been working in this project for quite a long time. It's been like 3 years right now. I'm still working in the same project. So I'm just planning to shift myself to another project. So and this one it's still in the traditional method which I'm just carry forwarding it with, and now probably the new one
I have seen some
probably
projects being done in both traditional agile. For example, the platform development they do it in traditional way, and the customer project
Mhm,
that takes it from the platform, right? That they do it in agile way. Sometimes a mix of both, because see, traditional project management is still needed in many cases,
mhm,
right? It's not
mhm,
that everything has to move to agile. So we have
yeah,
to interpret the purpose. That's a keyword. The purpose, what we are trying to achieve, and then decide based on all what we discussed. Then decide should I move to agile. But the moment you decide to move into agile, don't just try to
mhm,
transition. Look at your product or service or result itself in a different way. Can you structure it in a different way that lends to agile practices? That's a key
yeah,
thing here. Yeah.
agree.
Nice. Good. I'm looking at the time. Maybe slowly we should close. If you have any other questions for now, or we can carry on in the next session.
Nothing from my end for now, Bhuvan.
Yep.
Nothing
Rajesh
from my end,
and
Mr. Bhuvan.
Varadraj. Yeah. Okay. Beautiful. Then we'll close. I'll put this recording on the channel and share the link. Yeah.
Sure,
Beautiful.
Okay.
sure.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Thank
Thanks,
you so
guys.
much, Bhuvan.
Yeah,
Have a
thank
have
Thank
you,
a
Mr.
you.
nice
Bhuvan.
Sunday. Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.